Welcome to Our Conversation, a special program from Channel 21. I'm Todd Hagans. Today, our conversation features Maggy Benson, who works in the Office of Education and Outreach at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. And you may recognize her as the host of Smithsonian Science How that airs here on Channel 21. Recently, we had an opportunity to talk with Maggy about her work, what it is like to host Smithsonian Science How, and a whole lot more. It is a pleasure to welcome Maggy Benson from the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. Maggy, it is a pleasure to meet you and to have you with us today, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's begin by you introducing yourself to our audience. Who is Maggy Benson?
Well, my name is Maggy, and I am a museum educator at the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C. I've been an educator there for a little over 11 years, and it is my job to connect our digital audiences to the research, science, collections that we have at the Natural History Museum, which represents all of the natural world, from rocks and minerals to fossils and dinosaurs, space science, mammals, plants, everything on Earth.
Now, our viewers will recognize you as host of Smithsonian Science How that airs here on Channel 21. It's a great program, and we've been airing your program over the past year. So tell us, what are you trying to accomplish with Smithsonian Science How?
Yeah, Smithsonian Science How is our main distance learning program for students in K-12 that connects them to real Smithsonian scientists. And our goal really is to connect students to scientists in a way that helps them see the relevance of nature and science in their studies and in their everyday life, and to have a chance to meet and engage directly with a scientist who studies the natural world and learn about the tools they use and what interests them and what discoveries they've made. And it's really a lovely vehicle to be able to kind of go behind the scenes at the Natural History Museum instead of just looking at the exhibits, to be able to figure out how it all works and to know that scientists are actively learning more and more about our natural world every single day. And we want to really invite students into that process and help them see that they have a lot of the same skills that scientists have: the powers of observation and finding patterns and asking questions. Those are things that all humans can do and do every day. And we really want to help more people identify with those things and really feel empowered and like they are science people too, even if they're not a scientist professionally.
So Smithsonian Science How focuses on topics like earth science and life science, social studies, paleontology, and other topics. So which topics have been your favorite on the show, and which ones have been the most fascinating?
This is like picking your favorite child. I don't know if I can pick one. I feel really fortunate because I love learning and I love diving into all of these topics, and every scientist I talk to and every new program I make, I learn so many new things and I just love it. But I will say that I have a soft spot for marine science, particularly coral reef science. I also am a scientific scuba diver at the Natural History Museum, which means that I get to accompany scientists out into the field to help them collect data and do research underwater. And so that's a field I am deeply fascinated with and I love to learn about. And so maybe I have a little soft spot there.
And if I'm recalling correctly, there was a program about spiders, and the spiders were right there on the table. You didn't flinch once.
I love them. I love our tarantulas. We have live tarantulas in our insect zoo at the museum. And, they're really lovely creatures. They're docile. They're not that scary if you just give them a chance.
I guess the movies make them scarier than they really are.
Absolutely.
So your program gives us a sneak peek at what the Smithsonian has to offer. So when I hear the word Smithsonian, I think about the network of museums and galleries and education and research centers that are in Washington, D.C. So you're at the National Museum of Natural History. So talk to us about everything that the Smithsonian has to offer.
Oh my goodness. The Smithsonian has been around for 175 years, and we're still trying to help. We're still trying to figure out all of how to tell everybody about all the things we have. We are the world's largest museum, education, and research complex, and we are a community of learning and a community dedicated to learning about the world and sharing that knowledge with everyone in the country and in the world. And I mean, all of the things that we study, they encompass art and history and culture and technology and science and all the intersections of those things. And in the Natural History Museum is just one of those 19 museums dedicated to this kind of work. We also have a vast network of libraries. We have the National Zoo. We have numerous education and research centers, including the Smithsonian Astrophysics Observatory that studies space, the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute located in Panama, and even the Smithsonian Environmental Research Station, which is located in Edgewater, Maryland. And all of these different centers and all of these different spaces are dedicated to learning about culture and art and science and sharing that back out. And I feel really privileged to be at the Natural History Museum and be able to have a piece in that, in the institution's work.
Now, let's focus a minute on the pandemic. I know that when the pandemic shut everything down, we were scrambling for programs to have on our channel here, and Smithsonian Science How is one of the great programs that we found and that we have been airing as a way to provide education at home. People can turn on the television and you can still get a connection to education during the pandemic. So I guess that it's even more important to you that you have a program and you're producing a program like Smithsonian Science How, because you were able to continue providing education for students.
Absolutely. The pandemic really kicked our programming into high gear. Before the pandemic, we had Smithsonian Science How and a lot of other educational programs that happened on site at the museum. And when the pandemic happened, we really shifted gears to be able to truly meet the needs of all of our audiences that needed outlets to be able to get out of the house, to be able to learn, to be able to have community and connection. And Smithsonian Science How really served as a template for our entire museum to be able to deliver a lot of programming, connecting communities, not only around the country, but around the whole world during this time of great need. To give you a little bit of context, we typically, before the pandemic, would have about one live show every month for the school year. And in the 3 months that between March and June, the first 3 months of that pandemic, we did about 70 programs. And it was just because people really were craving those connections, the real science, the scientists, and these really unique opportunities. And it was a really great opportunity for us to be able to serve the teachers and the students and the parents and really all the interested people out there who really just wanted these connections.
Our conversation with Maggy Benson continues in just a moment.
STEM is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
Our conversation with Maggy Benson continues. And Maggy, we know you as the host of Smithsonian Science How. So, what else does your job include?
Well, hosting Science How is like the tip of the iceberg because to be able to create these digital programs, I get to meet with our scientists at the Natural History Museum and sometimes scientists associated with the museum or outside and learn all about their research. And I get to dive deep into the work that they do and see the collections that they work with and see the tools that they work with. And a lot of times I get to create other products like small videos and highlights of these scientists to be able to introduce them in different ways to our audiences. And another part of my job is I'm also a scientific scuba diver for the Smithsonian. So that means I get to accompany research expeditions into the field every once in a while and assist them with their underwater research in terms of data collection and really being an extra set of hands around the lab and underwater. And because I'm an educator and digital media producer, I am able to capture a lot of things on film and on camera about the process of how field science works and why that work's important, and turn that into other products in terms of either social media posts or live programs from the field or even videos. And that is a part of my job that I don't do that often, but when I do, it's really special and a lot of fun.
If you ever figure out how to host an underwater show, we would love to see that.
Absolutely. I have some field work tentatively planned for May, so maybe we can get something on the books. It may not be underwater, but it might be on a beach. So
Close enough, right? Close enough. So I read where you spent a lot of time outdoors growing up, and your mother would say to you, stay outside unless you are bleeding or broken. So how did that time spark your curiosity with nature and the outdoor world?
I love that you found that. And she was serious about that too. And that mantra, that stay outside unless you're bleeding or broken, I heard it so often growing up, and it used to kind of bother me. But as an adult that has followed a career path in biology and now working at the Natural History Museum, I now see that my mom knew that there was something really special about exploring the world around you. And I had I know I'm very lucky that I had a very small patch of woods in a creek right behind my house that was safe to play in. And I collected everything from those woods. I collected all of the plants, all of the rocks, all of the critters. I killed a lot of them. I'm really sorry to the ones that didn't make it. And that was encouraged in my family. And I was really lucky to have that. And it wasn't always just encouraged for the beauty and the fun of it, but it was also seen as something that could be a career path. So one thing that always strikes me is we had these crows that would gather in these huge flocks in the trees behind our house. And my mother would always encourage me to get a journal and write it down, what time of day it was, what the date was, how many crows I thought were there. And she understood that there were patterns to be seen in nature and that we should capture those and be able to ask questions and to be able to figure out the answers to those questions through exploration. And that's really laid the foundation for me in terms of my education and career. And that was really special. And I like to encourage other people, even if you don't have a creek or woods or a figure in your life that's making you stay outside, there's still exploration to be had no matter where you are.
Mothers know best. So outside unless you are bleeding or broken. Advice from mom. So our youngsters today seem so consumed by our digital world. What would you say to children and teenagers to encourage them to step away from the technology a bit and step out into the natural world in what ways can children explore the outdoors?
That's a great question. And I think it is just about stepping outside. It doesn't need to be a grand adventure. It doesn't need to be a natural preserve. Nature is all around us. I live in a very urban environment in downtown Washington, D.C., and still in my concrete surrounded home, I can see migratory birds. I can witness the season change. I can see storms rolling in the sky, and just taking a breath and observing the world around you and thinking about what's different and what's the same is a great starting point to be able to look at the natural world around you and to find spaces where that's encouraged, whether it's a teacher or a friend or a sibling, to be able to just spend time outside. And even if you're on your phone outside, that's a start. Or if you're using your technology to explore the world, that's another option. You can look at the most incredible natural phenomenons and animals and landscapes through your device. So it can actually be a tool to get you interested about nature too. And I think it's important to have that connection just because we are part of nature. Humans aren't this other thing. Humans are part of the system. And the more connected we are to it, I think the more we can do to be a part of it and be a community that preserve it and really take care of it for future generations.
So how important to you is it for students to be engaged in science and be engaged in the other STEM areas? Do you see yourself as an example of how being interested in science as a youngster can lead to being interested in science as an adult?
Absolutely. I see myself as an example there. And I am an advocate for everyone to study the STEM fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, and not to the means that you become a scientist or that you become an engineer. I think it's a really important skill set for all people to have because these disciplines really teach us how to think. They really help us question the world around us and think critically about the information we're receiving and be able to sort what's real, what's not, what deserves another question or maybe another line of evidence or testing some kind of hypothesis to be able to see what's going on. And that critical thinking is really important. And in science, what's so lovely is that there is no failure. There is just more questions, right? And so these are really wonderful skills to have as a person, to know that you didn't fail, that there's just another question, and that you can question things and you can find answers. And all of these things, I think, just empower us as humans to navigate the world around us in a better way.
So at the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, what are the must-see exhibits for students? And what are things that people should not miss? And what do you find that really grabs their attention?
Oh my goodness, there are so many things. It's such a wonderful museum, but because it is so big, and I've worked there for 11 years and I'm still finding new things. I will say that it's important that you have a plan when you visit, and I'll tell you some of my favorites so you can start making that plan. So we just opened the Hall of Deep Time, our fossil hall, in 2019, and it is amazing. You basically can time travel through the beginning of our Earth all the way to now and through the mass extinctions and see all of these different fossils and models throughout the history of time. And that is really special. And some of my favorite specimens from that is the Ankylosaurus, my favorite dinosaur, and the Cretaceous Sea has some amazing early reptiles, which are just marine reptiles, which are just incredible and huge and mind-blowing. So definitely don't miss the Hall of Deep Time. We also have a T-Rex and a Triceratops and some other really cool fossils. We have an The Ocean Hall is spectacular. It is a deep dive into the ocean, which also cannot be missed. And just off the Ocean Hall is a brand new model of a megalodon, and it is a 52-foot model, and it is suspended in a way where you kind of exit the Ocean Hall into one of our cafe areas, and it literally takes your breath away because you are staring face to face with this huge prehistoric shark, and it is so lifelike and so incredible that you must see it. It is very cool. The other exhibit that I really love and I recommend that everybody checks out is our Hall of Minerals. We have the Gems and Minerals Hall. In the minerals, the uncut gems, how they come out of the earth, just have such rich variety of colors and textures and shapes that everyone you look at, you can't believe it came out of the earth. And it's really a moment where you just say, wow, this is just incredible. So those are some of my big highlights for the Natural History Museum.
I recall on one of the programs where your guest showed it, I think it was a ruby, but it looked as big as a basketball. It was huge. So those types of examples, to see something like that and know that occurs naturally and was found in nature, that's pretty interesting.
It is so cool. And what's also so cool about it is those are scientific specimens. That's how we're learning about how our Earth was formed. And we're learning about all of these different Earth's processes through these amazing minerals. And I know the one you're talking about, we actually call it the football because it's huge. It is like even bigger than a football. And yeah, it's just really cool to know that your job could be studying these gems and minerals to figure out things about how the Earth works. And that's just cool.
Okay, so the last time I was in Washington, D.C. was in 2019. I visited the museums, went to as many of them as I could, went to the zoo, saw a lot of Smithsonian. So when I am there again, can I stop in to see you at the National Museum of Natural History? Would love to do that.
This is an invitation. Yes, you must. You must. Please come visit us here at the museum, and even all of our friends in Gaston County. We would love to have you at the museum and be able to connect with you. We love hosting all of our visitors.
Maggie, we love Smithsonian Science How on Channel 21. We think it's a great program. You do an awesome job with it. I've often wondered if you ever worked as a TV reporter or a TV anchor, because you're great as the host and you bring science to us to where we can understand it, we can enjoy it, and we can see that it's real. And the people behind the science are real people just like us. And I appreciate that. And I want to thank you for the program, and we love it. Keep producing great programs, the Smithsonian Science How, and we will keep airing them here on Channel 21.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for all of your kind words. We're really happy that we can connect with your community in this really special way.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Maggy Benson, and we look forward to bringing more conversations to you in the near future. For Channel 21, I'm Todd Higgins. Thanks so much for watching.